I wrote Edward James Olmos a letter, and believe it or not, we were planning to do an elimination right in front of him. Whoever talked to him had scared him so much they left the country. Confirms everything that I've been saying about American Me. I heard Danny Trejo make some outlandish claims. Yeah, a couple of people that were involved in the movie got eliminated. It really was that close to happening. Hey folks, my name's Rene Enriquez, and you are watching Uncensored.
Have you heard of the movie American Me?
I have.
They did a movie on the Mexican Mafia.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I just seen the tape. I'm familiar with all the incidents that occurred in that. If you'd like me to elaborate, I will.
Yeah, would you go over what happened with the Mexican Mafia as a result of that movie?
This is my debrief. A debrief is when you defect from a criminal organization. You drop out, right? You go to the cops, or they come to you. You're betraying your organization and telling everything you know about the organization. They sit you down. They sit down cameras. They bring in federal agents, and you provide them information about the organization that you represented. And it's in this room that they conduct the debriefs. And if you remember correctly, we started talking about the Public Defender's Office, organizations that the Mexican Mafia had infiltrated. And I cut off there. I said, okay, let's save the rest for the last part. And this is the last part. This is the very last part, folks. So,
well, they're attorneys, they're criminal attorneys, so they utilize their own letterhead for this purpose. And then there's the Federal Public Defender's Office, which has been infiltrated by the Mexican Mafia for years.
So we talk about people utilizing attorney letterheads, right? I have a couple of examples, and this is Mexican Mafia member Tonito Lopez, the one who was eliminated in Calipatria some years back, utilizing legal mail to relay Mexican Mafia messages. This is kind of like prolific. It wasn't, a one-time thing. Some attorneys participated in it knowingly, and others were duped. They didn't even know that their letterhead was being utilized. So you can't brush all attorneys with one brush, right? You can't paint them all with the same brush.
The Mexican Mafia was so deep in the federal PD's office that some individuals at one point lost their jobs behind it. And I believe there's one other group. Oh, the California Catholic Archdiocese. These individuals are good-hearted individuals. They're Christians, and they believe in what they're doing. Their sole interest is to protect the rights of individuals, but I don't believe that they understand the depth of the nefarious intent of the Mexican Mafia.
Yeah, hit the brakes right there. The Catholic Archdiocese used to visit me. I know a lot of people in the hierarchy of the Catholic Archdiocese, archbishops and bishops, Father Gregory Boyle, Father Mike Kennedy, all good men. Believe it or not, Father Gregory Boyle married myself and my past wife. That's how close we were. So I maintained ties with them. And there were multiple occasions in which I tried to infiltrate the church, because a church is a multi-billion-dollar thing, right? In fact, the Catholic Archdiocese is one of the biggest real estate holders in the world. And they have huge coffers. In other words, they got money. In one instance, there was a special event in Pelican Bay, and Father Gregory Boyle came up and visit all the brothers, because he knows the brothers, right? He knows a lot of them, right? She came to see me in Pelican Bay, and I proposed that the Archdiocese support our stopping the drive-by shootings in Southern California. But Father Greg's savvy. He's street savvy. He's politically savvy. He's a national world figure. And he looked me dead in the eye and said, Rene, I can't do that. And I said, why? He says, I know who you are. I know what you represent. And we can't validate that. We can't be seen as validating that. He was thinking politically, like, hey, we can't do this. We can't, the Catholic Archdiocese cannot be involved with the Mexican Mafia. And he was able to see what I was actually trying to do. And I'm glad he did, because, I would have just brought corruption into the church, and I would have soiled Father Greg. And I love Father Greg, and I'm glad he saw through it.
The organization is insidious, and it will poison these individuals. Specific individuals like Bishop Zavala, Sister Suzanne Jambro, Father Gregory Boyle, Father Michael Kennedy. Very good individuals. Sister Elizabeth O'Keefe. Very good individuals. They have no malice or wrong intent in their hearts. But they don't understand that they're dealing with individuals that do. And I think it would be good advice for them to keep an arm's distance from these people.
What is the interest? These are people that you're saying are from the Archdiocese, and they have a sincere interest in what they're doing. Why is the Mexican Mafia interested in them?
The Mexican Mafia hopes solely to get into their pockets. They understand that the Catholic Archdiocese has billions and billions of dollars. And at some point, they utilize these people support in their hunger strikes, in their peace talks, understanding that the endorsement of the Archdiocese is a powerful endorsement.
Monsignor are a group of individuals that are highly politically influential, supporting the endeavors of, even if they're guised in hunger strikes and prisoners' rights advocacy and nonviolent protest, still think of that. A group of inmates that has the support of the Catholic Archdiocese. That's pretty heavy. And that was the intent of the organization, like to infiltrate them somehow, to gain that political power, to influence, or get into their pockets and get grants for scholarships and other things. You know, the possibilities were endless. And that's what I thought about when we first started this. And that's what the other cardenales thought about.
And it pretty much forces the CDC to the negotiation table with the Mexican Mafia. We can get individuals like the Archdiocese, specific politicians. We can force these individuals to if we can get these individuals to force the CDC to the table, it improves our negotiating position, and it validates the Mexican Mafia as a true legitimate power. And this is the intent of the Mexican Mafia. And at some point, we understand that we can get into their pockets and get money. And for some individuals, they think that they're really doing a good thing, and they are. I mean, they have some concepts that are wonderful, but they're dealing with the wrong people. These individuals in the Mexican Mafia are beyond redemption.
Their intentions are good, but the Mexican Mafia intentions are bad.
Regardless of how sincere they seem, regardless of how mellifluously they talk or they speak, the Mexican Mafia has ulterior motives, and that's the reality of the situation.
Okay. You brought up political officials. There are political officials that the Mexican Mafia has influence with?
On a frequent basis, Senator Palanco, Senator Hayden, Senator Vasconcelos, Gwenay Bird, Rocky Rushing. The last two are staffers, I believe, for the senators.
These individuals are strong prisoners' rights advocates, extremely liberal, right? I sat down with Rocky Rushing, who is the chief of staff for Senator Tom Hayden during the peace talks. And believe it or not, we were planning to do an elimination right in front of him and Senator Hayden. Senator Palanco, Gloria Romero, there was a lot of politicians who were all about anti-CDC and prisoners' rights advocacy, but I don't think they understood who they're dealing with. And their positions, I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just saying that the people they're dealing with were wrong, because that's what we had planned. When we finally got to the table with a real powerhouse, the Senate Chief of Staff and senators and directors of correction, our intent was to eliminate somebody. It really was that close to happening. This was no small thing. We're going to eliminate Daniel Grajeda or Angel Valencia on top of the table in front of Senate staff and the director of corrections and the warden. That was real. We didn't talk about it in passing. It was a real conspiracy that took place. And Jocko was the one that was afraid to do it. He really was afraid. I saw it in his eyes. I know Jocko. He was not a gunslinger. He was not a doer. He got in as a favor to Chuco Castro. When I made him, I told that story before, that Chuco Castro's brother Eddie got put up, and then the next day the brothers realized they were drunk and they made Chuco's blood brother Eddie Castro a carnal, and they reneged on the sponsorship. So I call Chuco and he tells me, number one, my carnal doesn't have a sponsor. Would you sponsor him? And I respond with, yeah, but sponsor Jocko for me. So we did this backdoor move where we got in two people at once for our voting block. And that's how Jocko got in. Jocko had never picked up a knife. He went with me on a couple of eliminations, but he didn't pull the trigger. I did.
But we understand that these individuals are liberal-minded in their policies and they're progressive thinkers. We utilize their positions in terms to bolster our strength at the table with the CDC. We understand that if these individuals are backing us during a hunger strike, during peace talks, during any future negotiation, that it actually validates us. And our intent is to somehow gain influence over these politicians. If they were wise, they'd run from the Mexican Mafia like their hair was on fire. This is no small thing that the Mexican Mafia is doing. There are individuals in the Mexican Mafia who are highly intelligent and seek to control, not a prison, but the state. The Mexican Mafia is a vast, huge organization, and it hopes to sully these politicians in some fashion, and it will sully these politicians. At some point, these politicians will align themselves with prisoners' rights, not understanding that the people they're dealing with are brutal Mexican Mafia killers, while assuming a position of peace and nonviolent protest. Covertly, they're advocating violence. And these are the individuals that are in current discussions with politicians in Sacramento.
Let me hit the brakes right now. Has anything changed? In all the years since I've dropped out, has anything changed? Inmates and the general population participating in nonviolent harmony on the yards. Has it changed? Or are there still as many eliminations, if not more? Leave a comment. I think this is foretelling right here. This is today. Exactly what I said then is happening now. You have Mexican Mafia members, NF members, AB members, all on the general population talking about we are adhering to an agreement to cease hostilities. While in the same token, in the same breath, eliminating people. This is exactly what I'm talking about in the video. And it just struck me right now, like, wait a minute. That's happening today on an exponentially worse scale. To date, there have been 111 eliminations under the Secretary Jeff McComber. In the past 2 years, 111 people have been eliminated in the CDCR. I think it's safe to say that not all of them are attributed to prison gang members. Some are probably isolated incidents. Some are probably committed by EOPs. Some are committed by PC gangs. But a good number of them, I think the majority of them, are committed by these prison gangs. So what I'm saying in the video is come to pass, and it's happening now.
And I don't even think that the politicians realize who they're dealing with.
So you named Senator Polanco and Hayden, and I think a couple others.
Vasconcelos.
These people are they're not working for the Mexican Mafia. They are they're unknowingly being used.
They're being used by the Mexican Mafia. They're well intended. Their objectives are honorable, and I believe that they think that they're doing the right thing, but the Mexican Mafia is insinuating themselves into the political machine, Sacramento. This has been done before in the 70s, where they influenced councilmen, senators, and this is the objective today.
Let's hit the brakes again. Now, think about the wives of Mexican Mafia members and family members mobilizing and going to Sacramento, protesting inmates being housed in the SHU and utilizing the political machine to bring about the CDC on its knees. What happened in Ashker versus Brown? Todd Ashker filed a piece of litigation that went far and wide, that it became a class action suit and was successful. The CDCR negotiated and released everybody from the SHU. But this is exactly what I'm saying. They're insinuating themselves into institutional power, not just through the courts, not through inmate litigation, but through real lobbying. Real lobbying. The wives were very successful. I'm going to run a whole piece on this. I've been wanting to do this piece, and I am going to do this piece. It's going to be a banger episode. It's going to be a humdinger, folks. Subscribe. But just think about it. Everything I'm talking about back then is happening now. This is foretelling here. And it's come to pass. And I'm going to show you exactly how. Because I'm not just talking out of my left ear. I'm not talking out the side of my neck. This is real stuff that's happened. It's occurring today. It's been happening for the past 5 or 10 years, and they're successful. They've successfully infiltrated multiple institutions, and they're utilizing them to bring about policy changes that are beneficial for Mexican Mafia members.
This is the sole intent of their association with these individuals. Anytime that the senators correspond with them, anytime that a staffer corresponds with the Mexican Mafia, multiple copies are burned of that correspondence and circulated among the Mexican Mafia. Said, look, we have these people now. These people are helping us, and they're going to further our objectives. This is done on a frequent basis.
Okay, we went off camera for a minute to use the restroom. Now we're back on camera. A couple more areas I want to cover with you. Have you heard of the movie American Me?
I have.
They did a movie on the Mexican Mafia.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I just seen the tape. I'm familiar with all the incidents that occurred in that. If you'd like me to elaborate, I will.
Yeah, would you go over what happened with the Mexican Mafia as a result of that movie?
Well, the Mexican Mafia was offended by specific scenes of Santana being sodomized. Santana being the key character, and this is loosely based on the life of Cheyenne Cadena. It was highly offended that Eddie Olmos would portray a Mexican Mafia leader being sodomized while in juvenile home. In fact, they targeted Edward Olmos for assassination. This was voted upon by the members in the streets.
I did an episode on this about American Me that dispels some of the rumors, right? Some of the rumors that were early on. Even I believe some of that stuff, that so-and-so got whacked. But it's later that we discover the real reasons people were eliminated and really had nothing to do with the movie. And that's a reality, because there's people that'll swear up and down that 10 guys got killed for participating in the movie, and that's just not the truth, right? Those people had pre-existing issues, and since that time, so much has been discovered, even by me. Because when you're in Pelican Bay, all you do is hear snippets. Like Cardinal will come by in the law library and say, you know what, hey, they whacked Charlie Brown because of that movie. Okay, cool. And that's all you know.
This was the guy that made the movie?
Yeah, James Edward Olmos.
Okay.
Edward James Olmos, they targeted him for assassination, and was voted upon by the leadership on the streets. I also contacted Mr. Olmos in an attempt to get the script, and I had some conversations with Danny Trejo, who was an executive producer, executive assistant, and one of the individuals who acted in the movie.
I remember this. I was in 2904. I got locked into isolation after that hit I did in the attorney room, and I was attempting to contact Edward James Olmos. And I was attempting to get a hold of the script. I had heard a lot about it, that they were filming in Ramona Gardens, all over LA, in certain prisons, and I just wanted to read the script. And I called the studio. I got a hold of Danny Trejo. He played a part in the movie, and he was a producer. And I told him who I was. I say, my name's Rene Enriquez. I'd like a copy of the script. I heard it portray some of my friends in a bad light. And he sent me a production packet, right? A glossy of James Edward Olmos and a pamphlet and some other like fan stuff, right? And I called back and I said, this is not what I'm after. I'm after the script. I want a copy of the script. I never got it from them. I got a copy of the script through the Mexican Mafia. Somebody had a copy of the script. They sent me a copy of the script. And I wrote Edward James Olmos a letter. I wished him health, happiness, and box office success. And it was sincere. Years later, I find out that Olmos turned that letter over to law enforcement and the FBI. And they did a threat assessment, right? There were people out to extort him. I don't think he was ever physically in danger. I know that he left the country, he went to Europe for a while and submitted for a license for a CCW, a concealed weapon, and they denied him. And I know that he met with a bunch of other people that filled his head with a bunch of crap. Oh yeah, you're in danger. They'll find you anywhere. They have drones flying around looking for you, and they have your DNA. I'm exaggerating, obviously, but they filled his head with a bunch of crap, right? He ended up paying money to certain cardenales, and they called him to court to testify in the RICO case that he was the victim of an extortion, right? And the first RICO case in 1995, United States of America versus Alex Aguirre et al., when they indicted the Cardenales and the feds used the RICO Act against the Mexican Mafia, they called Edward James Olmos to the stand, and they wanted him to testify about being extorted. He refused to testify. Like, Whoever talked to him had scared him so much that he left the country. And I think that's a shame because it was all unnecessary. He's living a normal life today. Nobody's out to get him. He's not on the hit list. Look, at some specific time, maybe he was in danger, right? Maybe he was in danger. But once he paid, he was good. But had he been in the right place at the right time, in the right neighborhood, maybe he would have got shot at. That went away as soon as he paid.
I was offended myself, angered in respect that some of the scenes during my active participation in the Mexican Mafia, I heard about some of the graphic scenes which offended me. I was also aware of 3 other murders which took place surrounding the movie. Ana Lizarraga had a part in the movie. She was shot by Joker Gonzalez, who was a Mexican Mafia member in Pelican Bay. She was shot multiple times and assassinated in front of her house. Charlie Brown Enriquez played a part as a technical advisor. He was assassinated by the Mexican Mafia. It should be understood, though, he was plotted upon before the movie, and this was just the straw that broke the camel's back, his participation in the movie, and that's one of the reasons he was assassinated.
There it is. They had pre-existing issues. This was in 2002. And I've seen other people say that 10 people were eliminated and they were eliminated because of this. They were eliminated because they did the movie. No, there were issues that existed. In fact, I was sitting in Ramona Gardens in the Hazard Projects with Rocky Luna, the Godfather, and Widow Shy talking about eliminating Charlie Brown Enriquez. He's got to go. He's no good. He's dead weight. He's a bum, and he was a bum. I mean, he was stealing bananas, car batteries, just to get his fix every morning. He had become an embarrassment, right? So it was just a matter of time before he got nailed. And Ana Lizarraga was the youth gang coordinator there. She was worked for youth gang counseling or whatever it was, but she was always talking to LAPD and the sheriffs. And everybody assumed she was a rat. Nobody ever had paperwork against her, but it was Milon Gallardo that pushed that issue. And he was successful in pushing it and had her eliminated. Hence, Joker caught that case for eliminating Ana Lizarraga.
It was just fodder in the political campaign to murder him. And third was Manuel Luna. Manuel Luna played a role in the movie being shot in Ramona Gardens, where he should have opposed production in his neighborhood, which was his territory, his church, his organizational church. He allowed it to continue. And he was assassinated. So there were multiple individuals assassinated. I'm also aware of Mr. Olmos being extorted for $50,000. I heard it was more, but I'm almost certain it was $50,000. Chuco Castro, Kiwi Aguirre, and Milon Gallardo extorted for $50,000.
So this confirms everything that I've been saying about American Me. That, yeah, there were some murders that swirled around it. Yeah, a couple of people that were involved in the movie got eliminated, but they had pre-existing issues. That movie was not going to get a Carnal whack. Should Rocky have opposed the production of the movie in his hood? Yeah, I would have. It wasn't smart, but that's not why he got whacked. And each of these individuals had pre-existing issues. The movie was just the fodder they used to campaign. And they were in quick succession. Boom, boom, boom. They did these hits, right? And they went down, and it shocked Hollywood. It still has a stigma in Hollywood. People are scared to talk about the Mexican Mafia because they think this is why those three were eliminated. I've heard people say 10. In fact, I heard Danny Trejo make some outlandish claims that 10 people were eliminated, that he was communicating directly with Joe Morgan, and that's an impossibility. Joe Morgan was in the hole and they had no phone calls. And I'm not calling Danny Trejo a liar at all. I'm not trying to do that, right? Maybe Danny Trejo got a call from somebody else and he's relaying the information that was relayed during the call. I don't know. I just know that in the shoe, you could not get a call unless somebody died in your family or was near death. That's the only way you can get a phone call. And during the time this was made, Danny Trejo claims to have received phone calls and spoken directly with Joe Morgan to save Edward Olmos. I don't know about the veracity of that story. I'm just telling you my experience, that having those conversations would have been difficult. But it's, again, just me saying it. It's just me. I'm just one person. Everybody has their subjective experience and their belief. But I'm telling you flat out, they weren't eliminated because that movie.
Okay. Had you heard that Topo Benjamin Peters, Mexican Mafia member, was also in on that extortion?
I never heard that, but I seriously doubt it. If he received any money from it, it was as a gratuity from one of the other individuals. But I wasn't aware of his participation in the extortion plot.
Okay. So, as a result of this movie, you're aware that 3 people were murdered and the actor Edward James Olmos was extorted for $50,000 by Mexican Mafia members.
And targeted for murder. Yes.
Is he still targeted for murder?
I think it's worn off, but if he gets around the right people, they might kill him.
Okay.
They might.
Let me stop that right here. I think that's long over. I don't think he has a worry in the world. This was in 2002. That was 24 years ago. And it was still a hot topic. I mean, the movie was still fresh on the minds of everybody. And everybody was under the belief that he had a green light on him. And he did for a minute. He did. Don't make no mistake about it. They were upset with him. But once he paid, like I said, once he refused to testify in the RICO trial, that cleaned him up right there. Right there. He went to court. And he says, I have nothing to say about this issue. And there were 13 carnales, 13 made Mexican Mafia members sitting dead in front of him. And he earned his credibility. I dare say that if anybody brought this up in the future and to give Edward James Olmos problems, those carnales that were at trial would stand up for him, particularly the ones that benefited from the cash.
Okay. Rene, I want to talk a little bit about drug cartels. Is the Mexican Mafia involved with any drug cartels, to your knowledge?
Definitely. I know that Bat Marquez is an individual living in Mexico. He's a validated Mexican Mafia member, high-ranking Mexican Mafia member, is involved with the Arellano Felix clan.
You mentioned him earlier. He's the one that's wanted on the top 10.
He is.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, some family members of mine went to go see him in Mexico a couple years ago, and he was discussing the importation of massive amounts of marijuana and methamphetamine.
Okay, we're going to cut out right there because I'm going to save that clip for an episode I'm going to do on the cartels and the Mexican Mafia, right? And that will be forthcoming soon. Soon. Leave a comment. Hit the thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Hype the video, folks. Hype the video. As always, stay safe. Enjoy your day. I'm out. Peace.